Good afternoon, HTSD friends. I brought somebody special with me today for story hour, story half hour. It's Toby, my parrot, and we're going to read a story about Alex, the parrot. Right, Toby? Okay, are you ready? Let's read. One June day in 1977, a young woman walked into a pet store looking for an African gray parrot. The store had 8. They were all young birds with bright, white-ringed black eyes, gray body plumage, and a crimson tail. The woman couldn't decide which one to take, so she asked the storekeeper to choose one for her. "Okay," he said, picking the bird closest to the cage door. This gray was a year old and weighed about a pound. The woman was a graduate student named Irene Pepperberg. She made the parrot as comfortable as she could and then began the long drive to the biology lab at Purdue University in Indiana. On the way, she decided to call her new bird Alex. Irene didn't know it then, but Alex was no ordinary parrot. He was going to make history. Irene met Alex at a time when most people thought that animals were just barely intelligent. They could be trained to understand spoken commands, but none of them could respond with speech. The only exceptions, parrots and mynah birds, could speak words and even short sentences, but probably didn't understand what they were saying. They were only imitating or parroting sounds they heard, or so people thought. Irene didn't agree. She had loved birds from the age of 4 when she was given a parakeet for her birthday. Growing up, she had raised many pet parakeets. She had even taught some to talk. In her opinion, her birds were highly intelligent. Yet, studying parrots didn't occur to Irene until a few years before she bought Alex. She had been studying chemistry at Harvard and planned to teach it. But in the winter of 1974, she happened to see a television series about a new science, the study of animal language. The shows fascinated her. One was about whales singing. Another was about the sounds and gestures that chimpanzees make to each other. Most interesting of all to Irene, though, was a show about birdsong. The subject of animal communication drew Irene like a magnet. She began finding out everything she could about it. She read about dolphins who were learning to understand words and recognize symbols. She read about chimps and gorillas who were speaking with their trainers using sign language. At the time, most scientists thought that the bigger the brain, the smarter the creature. So the studies of animal communication centered on apes and dolphins, whose brain size is much like ours. African grays with their walnut-sized brains were at the very bottom of the heap. People thought they were bird brains. Nobody was interested in working with them yet. There are thousands of bird species. We know now that African gray parrots are among the very smartest. They are also among the most vocal. They squawk, they sing, and they love to imitate noises they hear. They can sound just like almost anything. They can also speak as clearly as people, which made an African gray the perfect bird for Irene to study. She knew from her many parakeet pets just how intelligent birds could be. As a scientist, she wanted to prove it, and with Alex, she was determined to try. Alex and Irene got off to a bumpy start. Alex was frightened and unhappy in his new home in the biology lab. He wouldn't eat or come out of his cage. Slowly, patiently, Irene helped him to overcome his fear. Within a few days, he was walking in and out of his cage and perching comfortably on her arm. On his 4th day at the lab, Irene gave Alex an index card. He promptly shredded it with his beak. She gave him another and another. He shredded them happily. Each time she gave him a card, she would say, "Paper." She wanted him to understand that paper meant the stuff he was ripping up. But did he understand? It was too soon to tell. Young parrots in the wild learned by imitating their parents. Parrots in captivity learned by imitation too, but exactly what they learned and how well they understood it was still a big question. By using a new teaching method with Alex, Irene hoped to find the answer. She and a student assistant would sit in front of Alex and pretend to teach each other a word. For example, Irene would show the students a key, saying key. The student would repeat the word key, and Irene would hand the object over. The student would handle the key with great interest and then show the key to Irene. When Irene responded again by calling it key, she would get to hold it. Then it was Alex's turn. If he said key, he would be given the key as a reward. He liked this game and caught on very quickly. Within a few weeks, Alex was saying E for key and payer for paper. Next, he began labeling materials such as cork and wood and colors, green and blue. Alex picked up words for his favorite foods all by himself: nut, banana, corn, grape, cherry, and pa. His favorite word for pasta. Alex was a great student, and as he learned more words, he lost his shyness. In fact, he turned into a very bossy parrot. He let everybody know what he wanted pretty much all of the time. Want nut, want banana were two of his favorite commands. Want to go back was another. It meant he was tired of working and ready for a break. Alex made it very clear that he liked to be obeyed. And if he asked for a grape and got a banana, somebody was going to end up with a banana facial. It wasn't long before no became one of Alex's favorite words. By the time he was in his teens, Alex had learned to count up to 6, to add and to subtract. He could say when something was bigger or smaller. He could tell what was the same and what was different. Alex, what's the same? Color. What's different? Shape. Alex, how many same? 3. Or how many different? 1. Alex also understood something children can't grasp until they are 4 or 5, the idea of 0. When 0 was the right answer, Alex used the word none. Alex, what's different? None. These were things no chimp or gorilla could do. Alex wasn't supposed to have the brain power to do them either, but that did not stop him. You liking the story, Toby? Meanwhile, stories about Alex began showing up in newspapers and magazines. When he and Irene appeared on television, millions of people saw for themselves how intelligent Alex was. The result? Alex became famous, a parrot celebrity. His fans were impressed with his intelligence, of course, but they loved him because he was a show-off, a very funny one. He could sway and bob his head in time to the music. He would stick his head in a mug and make silly noises. He would say, "Wanna shower?" until someone sprayed him with water. When he wanted a tickle, he would say, "You tickle." Then he would bend his head over, exposing his neck. At night, Alex would sit in his cage and talk to himself. He would repeat phrases. He would rhyme words, whistle, and caw. He would often imitate Irene. "Good parrot, good boy," he would say, or "Try better. What's your problem?" He sounded just like her. There were still people who doubted that Alex understood what he was saying, but Irene was sure he did. She had tested him thousands of times. Besides, they understood each other. They were old friends. On the last night Irene saw him, they parted in the usual way. Alex said, "You be good, I love you." Irene told Alex she loved him too. Then he asked, "You'll be in tomorrow?" "Yes, I'll be in tomorrow," she answered. The next morning, Irene received an email from the lab that began, "Sadness." It went on to deliver terrible news. Alex was dead. At first, Irene couldn't believe it. Alex was only 31, and Greys often lived to be over 60. But it was true. On September 7th, 2007, Alex had died in his cage of heart failure. Their long, wonderful friendship was over. News of Alex's death flew around the world. It was reported on television and in newspapers everywhere. Even scientific magazines ran the story. Alex videos appeared daily on the internet, and millions of people watched them. Friends, colleagues, and Alex fans from countries near and far wrote to Irene expressing their sorrow. Alex had touched them all. In his short life, he had made a big difference. First and foremost, he changed the way people thought about birds. He showed that they were smarter than anybody ever had dreamt. Alex was as smart as a 5-year-old child. Until then, only chimps and gorillas had tested that high. Alex also made people understand that African greys are much happier when they have company. They live in flocks in the wild and are almost never alone. As pets, they shouldn't be alone much either. And as very intelligent pets, they need to play and learn. If they don't, they get bored and misbehave just the way children do. After hearing about Alex, many owners changed the way they treated their African greys. So thanks to Alex, pet greys now lead much better lives. Okay, I know you have lots of questions because Toby has zoomed into some classes before, and so I brought some of the questions I've been asked so that you have answers. And everybody wants to know how old Toby is. Toby, can you look that way? Toby is 37 years old. And she could probably live another 20 to 30 years. Usually parrots live very long inside because there's nobody to eat them, like out in the wild. So, and they get good nutrition. Toby likes people food. She loves chicken and fish and beef. She doesn't get it a lot, but she does. Everybody says, "Is Toby a boy?" And in fact, people think that Toby's a boy because Toby's named Toby. But Toby lived with another family before she came to live with my family, and she lived with them for almost 25 years. And that was before veterinarians could take blood and test it and use DNA to decide whether it was a boy parrot or a girl parrot. But Toby took matters into her own hands, and think about it, how did she maybe let her family know that she was a girl? You think for a second. This is how she did it. Yep, these are eggs that she laid at our house, but she laid an egg one day and the person who was cleaning the house went by and was in shock. And that's how they knew Toby was a girl, because she laid eggs. And no, she didn't have babies because these eggs are like chicken eggs. Can Toby talk? Yes, she can when she wants to. She was talking long before Mr. D'Elia put the camera on. And she was whistling, weren't you? Were you singing? Row, row. Can you talk for us? Of course not. But she does talk. She will, ooh, sorry, Michael, I didn't mean to play with my microphone. She yells at the dog. If the dog is barking and it's bothering her, she'll go, shh, and then she'll go, quiet. And then if she's really mad, she'll say, shut up, which is not very nice, but she learned that at another house. She does sing. She will sing, row, row, row your boat, right? She sings, here comes Santa Claus gently down the stream, because she can sing, here comes Santa Claus, and she mixes the two songs up, right? Here comes Santa Claus gently down the stream. She can caw like a crow. She makes a great ray gun sound, especially when I put her in the cage and she doesn't want to be there. She will pretend that she ray guns me. She does have, there's another African gray parrot in our house, so she's not alone. And she has taught the other African gray some words. Do you want to say anything to the boys and girls? You can't see them, but they can see you. All the children in the district can see you. Head bobbing. No, nothing? Can you count? She counts. She forgets 2. She goes 1. 3 is her second number. I promise you she can talk, huh? Oh, look at that wing. Now, Toby can't fly, all right? Her wings aren't clipped, but she can't fly, and this is how birds learn to fly. Birds can fly up automatically. It's their fight or flight response. So if they're scared or they think they're going to get hurt, they can fly up, but they have to be taught how to fly down, and that's what their parents teach them. Toby never learned that she could fly, so if she wanted to and she felt comfortable, she might jump off this perch. She's done that in the past, but I don't think she'll do that today because I'm right here. And she lands with a thud. So, but our other parrot does fly. Our other parrot was taught how to fly down. She was taught on a harness. Anything else I should tell him about you? If you want to hear an African gray talk, if your teacher Googles TED Talk and Einstein and Knoxville Zoo, Einstein is a parrot just like Toby and actually did a TED Talk, and it's really fun to listen to. And if you have other questions about Toby, you can have your teacher send them to me and I will send answers back. Anything else, Toby? Can you say goodbye? Can you look at the camera?